マシンの操縦は任せた。
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Briareos Kerensky and welcome to the review of Kandagawa Jet Girls, Marvelous and Kenichiro Takaki's latest multimedia project. Kandagawa Jet Girls is smaller in scope than Valkyria Drive, Takaki's previous multimedia attempt, sporting only an anime series and a video game on the PS4. The two halves share the setting, a future in which jet racing is allowed along the many waterways snaking through Tokyo, and entire schools are built around the idea of excelling in this sport. The original concept art of the franchise had a decidedly sci-fi setting, with the anime scaling back the futuristic aspect for something more like present day. The video game sits between the two extremes. It's not full-on sci-fi, but it's clearly not present day either. Between anime and video game, I prefer the video game. I like when future technologies find their way in a normal world. The characters in the game are the same as in the anime, plus the addition of a new racer duo, Kamui Kurenai and Naraku Mamiya, forming the Grindcore team. Kandagawa Jet Girls features both single-player and multiplayer. I want to be clear from the start that I will be focusing on single player because I wasn't able to play any multiplayer game. I have tried for 2 weekends and the week in between. Mornings, afternoons and evenings I would start the game just to wait fruitlessly for anyone join a ranked match or in search for a casual race. I used my main and Japanese accounts, both PSN Plus subscribers, and couldn't find a single match. I can submit time trials results just fine, so servers are up. I don't know if this was due to my geographical location or because multiplayer is already dead not even a month after the game came out, but that's my experience. Available single-player modes are story, single race and time trials. There is no Grand Prix mode, and with that I mean a series of races of ever-increasing difficulty where the final victor is the one with more points. This is very disappointing because after going through story mode, something that will take less than 10 hours, you are left with pretty much nothing. Story mode starts off with just Rin and Misa available. Their story follows the anime, they meet up, they work out differences and end up on top of the Tokyo jet racing world. Spoiler, I guess. After completing Rin's and Misa's arc, other teams become available. The Grindcore team requires all other stories to be completed, and after going through their chapter, there is a small closing episode before the final end credits. The various stories are really nothing to speak about, with two teams going through a spat that will be resolved with the help of their rivals/friends and the power of jet racing. Suiryukai team's story doubles down on Fuka's changing personality when racing, throwing in a supernatural element not present in the anime. Pre- and post-cutscenes aren't that interesting and I skipped most of them. That's not a problem though. During story races you'll hear the girls talk to each other, recapping whatever happened before. The main problem of story mode is that it's boring, with no challenge involved if not for a small selection of races across all teams. Once you get into first place, in itself something you do right at the start or shortly after, there is no way for your opponents to catch up, even if you don't boost, drift, catch speed pads or use weapons. It's common to win races with a 20 seconds lead on your closest opponent, and once I was able to lead the others by a full minute. During story mode, the jet ski you use expands its upgrade potential, and you can improve acceleration, maximum speed, handling, and a number of other options. Upgrades are purchased in the shop with in-game credits you get by completing races or minigames. Opposing teams do use 1 or 2 upgrades in later races, thus becoming a bit challenging only if you don't do the same. Even level 1 upgrades are more than enough to put everyone back on the same level, a level you will dominate with no effort at all. The AI in story mode is just stupid. At times they'll hit stationary obstacles in the middle of the track even when there is no one close to them, ignore speed pads or not even boost at all. Get into first position and story races will look like more time trials than races. There is no rubber banding, and while there are special attacks that could help those lagging behind, the AI rarely uses them. Again, it's just boring, there is no challenge, and unless you start using maximum level upgrades, there is not even a sense of speed during races. Once you get upgrades above level 3, tracks start zipping by and you need to think in advance about cornering and when starting or cutting boost, but those skills are not used to get in first place, they are used to get an even larger lead on opponents. And it's not like the system on which the game is built on is bad. Once you get used to it, you can clearly see some of the nuances. It's just that half of it doesn't influence single-player mode. Racing teams are composed by a driver and a shooter. Shooters start with a weak water rifle able to shoot forward only. Extra weapons that can track opponents both in front and behind are randomly collected by passing over weapon crates. These weapons range from dual handguns to bazookas, all water-powered of course, and serve the dual purpose of defense if you have someone behind, and offense if you are trying to catch up to someone. Hit an opponent enough times and you'll induce a temporary stun. Explosive weapons like grenade launchers and bazookas can make short work of opponents in 1 or 2 shots, and in many tracks weapon crates are right next to the starting line. Getting such a weapon there means stunning all opponents right at the beginning. The boost meter is built up by drifting, passing through rings, and performing tricks during jumps. It can be activated when it's past 20%, and heavier jet skis go through the meter faster than light machines. When the boost meter hits 100%, you can activate a special attack, based on the equipped weapon, and this mechanic could have been interesting. Do you want a temporary speed boost, or a weapon that could get you past multiple opponents? Instead, there is no use for extra weapons, and boost is the best way to end races as soon as possible. You can drift around corners by tapping the brakes when steering. This will have the twofold effect of improving the steering capability and build up a meter that, if full enough, will give a speed increase. When this happens, the jet ski is pretty much locked in its trajectory, another mechanic that could have made racing more interesting, but is underused due to track design. With the exception of one, unlocked during the very last chapter of story mode, all tracks are a collection of straight waterways and 90 degrees turns. A couple of tracks have chicanes or curves with a different radius, but all layouts are rather basic. The Akihabara track is the only one with half pipes you can do tricks on, and this is something I've discovered in the minigames. You can't go onto any lateral surface no matter how curved it is, and there is no real reason to use them during story mode or time trials. The last track, Kandagawa Underground, is the one where the most work went, featuring narrow tortoise waterways that favor nimble machines, jumps, and straight sections for heavier machines and boosting. And it's not like the other tracks don't at least try to be interesting. In normal Kandagawa you shoot buoys to open gates, Ochanomizu has waterfalls that push jet skis below the water surface, and almost every track has at least one alternative path that should favor different machine types. The game is set in Tokyo and tracks are based on some of the city's districts. All locations have one map, from which 3 tracks are derived by closing off parts of it. This induces a lot of déjà vu, and rather than learning track layout and end up being misguided by muscle memory, I used the minimap to see where to go and how much I could drift when steering. When you are done with story mode, single races and time trials await. Here you can freely mix and match jet ski, shooter and driver, and even swap characters around. This will not influence jet ski performance, but what tricks will show. Story teams have their own pose, other combinations just a simple stunt. Time trials are based on a single lap, for whatever reason, and there are online leaderboards. For single races you can select how many opponents there are and their strength, chosen between 3 levels. The first 2 are exactly the same as story mode, so not particularly challenging, while the third boosts machine performance to maximum and opponents drive perfectly along the track. Who needs balanced difficulty curves anyway? There are 4 minigames where to grind for credits. You can wash a jet ski, clean a walkway, dash on a running mat, or test your skills in jet ski tricks. You will need to play these minigames if you need to purchase everything available because, like many other Takaki games, you do not unlock stuff, you unlock the possibility to buy it. Jet ski upgrades, costumes, BGMs, icons for the multiplayer chat, and even ending illustrations all have to be purchased with in-game credits. The washing minigame is the one that seems to give more credits, so you'll want to stick with it. There is a changing room, and even if this is a game about pretty girls wearing skin-tight racing suits, there isn't a lot of fan service. The anime series had outfits breaking by too many hits from water guns, which is not present in the game. The more suggestive outfits I unlocked are bikinis, and like the most recent Serran Kaguras, there is a distinct lack of funny costumes and accessories. The game's performance is okay, with a stable frame rate that only reaches full 60 during time trials, when you are alone on the track. Screen tearing and frame rate drops are common during race presentations. Loading is frequent and on the long side, not uncommon in games done with Unity. The best way to describe Kandagawa Jet Girls is that it's a Kenichiro Takaki game. A slightly outlandish setting with a decent technical background and some interesting gaming ideas that are unfortunately not fully realized. I have to repeat myself that for unknown reasons I wasn't able to test out multiplayer, which could add some life to this racing game as you don't have to deal with a subpar AI, but all I can say is that Kandagawa Jet Girls is sorely lacking as a single-player experience. It's not terrible, it's just boring. I hope you have enjoyed this review and you'll stick around for more. Briare Oskarensky, over and out.
やったね！ついちゃんたちの勝ちだ！